Back again with another social media for your boring business. And today I'm going to be joined by Nancy. I am super excited to have Nancy join me. And oh no, I wonder if we're friends yet. Oh no. Oh, here we go. Okay, yay.
Hey, hi Nancy.
It worked. I was just saying, I'm not sure how this works. Let's see if we can make
Yes,
it happen.
it's easy. I know. When I first started this, I was really confused on how to get the two people right next to each other. So, pro tip, if you're trying to learn how to go live with somebody else and you want the two screens next to each other, you both have to be hosts and then you invite one of the hosts invites the other host to join them. And so basically, we're both in our own accounts as hosts, which means that I can't see the comments that people leave you. So if you get any questions or comments, be sure and bring them up because I won't know that they're there. So that is the only thing that you need to know. So welcome. I do this every Tuesday if you are just joining us at 1 p.m. Central Time, and we are talking about social media for your boring business, but really just social media for your business and how to be less boring online. I'm super excited to talk to Nancy. We have a really, really fun subject today because Nancy helps people go from floundering to fabulous. And she specifies or helps women who are in their prime, right? Like women who are in their 40s and 50s. Kids might have moved out. You might even have grandkids, and you're probably like, uh, it feels really uncomfortable trying to be on social media. So I'm excited to dive into this topic, but let's start. Nancy, why don't you tell us a little bit about you, about your business? I know I mentioned it, but you can do a much better job on who you help and who you work with.
Well, thanks, Jen. So I'm the Floundering to Fabulous coach and speaker. And what I do is I work with women in their 40s and 50s and beyond to flourish in what I call their grand finale chapters of life. It's a stage of life when a lot of us are in flux. We're shedding a lot of roles that we've always had. We're still moms, but our kids don't need us the same way. We're still daughters, but our parents sometimes are leaving us and sometimes they need us more than they used
Yeah.
to. We are a lot of times in job transition. Like I might have a job that I've had for years, but I'm looking at it going, I don't know that I want to do this for another 10, but I still
Yeah.
have to work. I still have to make an income. Or we stepped out and like I did 2 years ago. And I was like, I'm going to be a freelancer or an entrepreneur. So all these things are happening at once. And we really come kind of face to face with the fact that we don't even know ourselves as well as we thought because we've worn so many roles that were just part of the life we chose instead
Yeah.
of, or the life that happened to us versus the life that we intentionally chose. And now we're at the stage where we get to make these choices, and there's a lot of them, and it can either be super exciting or super terrifying or a little bit of both.
And I
And
feel like that hits people at every age.
well,
Right?
it
There's
does.
so
It
many
does.
phases.
Yeah, and where I really land is, and kind of what I talk about is, I talk about the F words, the words plural that you need to flourish. So there's some irony in that, is that I don't use the F word myself,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I really love the English language. I'm a writer and a communicator, and there are so many strong words. And it really started to, I'm not the first one to pull these words together as foundational to our lives, but I really focus on working with people to say, let's make sure that your foundation is strong. And to me, that's your faith, your family, your friendships, your finances, and fitness. And in all of that, we try to have fun at what we do.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I work with people and what I've been doing. Now, that's relatively recent. And my journey has been, even as I've been on TikTok, has been a lot of my own floundering because I haven't been sure like what I want to do. And so that's where it's been, social media presence has been real interesting from that standpoint.
Yeah, I love that. And you also, another F word to add to those is that you work with women in their 40s and 50s who the only F words in that anyways.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, there's a ton. Yeah, trust me. It's kind of nonstop. I have a list of like over 100 that I like to teach on.
Oh my gosh, I love that so much. So if you have any questions for Nancy as we're going along or any questions in general, feel free to drop them in the chat. Be sure that you double tap the screen if you are enjoying what you're seeing. The more hearts that we get on this, the more people that get to see what it is that we're talking about. And also, if you are not following Nancy or myself, please be sure and hit the follow button as well. So let's dive in and let me make sure that I have my right notes here because I was totally working on something else just a second ago. Okay, so we're here on TikTok, right? And I know we're going to share this to other platforms, but we're talking about TikTok. TikTok still exists. It's so really, really important for business owners to focus on, and it's a great place to share. So specifically your TikTok journey, like how long have you been on TikTok? And a little bit like what was it like when you were just starting? Because I mean, even for somebody who's my age, like we were considered old for TikTok for a while. And so I know like when you first started, it had to have given you a little bit of a like, is this even a place for me? Or maybe it didn't. Maybe you were like, I'm gonna be here.
No, it was not a natural fit. I kicking and screaming would be a little bit of an exaggeration because I was open to try new things. And
Yeah.
so Jen and I know each other from being in a mentorship group together. We're in this group called the Social Click. It's a paid mentorship group from Rachel Peterson. And before I joined the group, I actually went through her freelance accelerator and then a boot camp program. And in both of those programs, she was really talking about the power of TikTok for marketing. I was starting out in business and I said, I need to market. I guess I need to try things. And so it was one of those things like, you got homework over the lunch break. You're going to go and make a TikTok. I'm like, what? And so I had to first decide right then and there is like, am I willing to get out of my comfort zone? And I said, it can't hurt. So my first minutes, I would say, on TikTok were a little bit startling to me because you go on TikTok, it doesn't know you at all.
Oh
And at
yeah.
that
I
particular
hate new
time,
accounts.
there was some sort of challenge where it was like, I'm just gonna be honest, it's like I look like this in a t-shirt, I look like this in a bikini, and suddenly what was under the t-shirt and the bikini look was like right here. And
Oh
it was
my
and,
gosh.
and my mother and my grandmother kicked in. I'm like, oh, these girls, what are they doing? Just every of my kind of conservative sensibilities were shocked. And I immediately like shut it down. I'm like, I don't want any part of this,
Yeah.
and then for me, it was just this kind of conversation in my head that led me to say, you know what? This platform's open to anybody. And so if there's things on there that I don't like, what if I actually could create things that would be good, that would be beneficial, that would be not that if someone happened to see that when they open their TikTok. And so that's kind of what got me over the edge. And then what I quickly found out was that what I started to see was very driven by what I consumed. And because I
Yeah.
very quickly went by stuff like that or didn't pay attention to it, and then I started to like, and then it got, my feed right now is generally not that startling. So
Yeah. So I really love something that you just said, and I kind of want to touch on it. So obviously, if you're watching this here on TikTok, like you guys, we all understand how the algorithm evolves to what we like, right? That's why TikTok is so addicting. That's why we enjoy being on it because we see things that we want to see. But your thought there of like maybe I could put things out there that people like me might need to see, right? And I think that all of us, there's space for all of us. And I think that's such a great realization because I know a lot of people that are watching this may not have actually started creating yet. And the bottom line is that there is a need for your content here on TikTok and on Facebook and on Instagram and on YouTube. There are people that would want to hear what you have to say and could really learn a lot from the experiences that you have to give. So I really love that. And I kind of caught that, and hopefully that's what you meant by that. But I think that was really a great way to look at it, and just to remember a reminder for all of us that there's a need for you in all of the social media space. So I think that's really really great. And again, if you have any questions for Nancy or for myself, please feel free to drop them in the chat. And please double tap the screen if you are enjoying this and like what you see so that more people can share in it as well. Okay, so we talked a little bit about like getting over the fear. And I love that. And if you've never been a part of any of Rachel Peterson's trainings, a lot of them are really like workshop driven. So she does make you actually get out there and do things, which is great. So what are some tips for people or women in their 40s and 50s, but really any age this can happen to us, where we just get in our own way of what is possible for us? So, like, you help people go from floundering to fabulous. So, like, how do you get over yourself to get to that next level?
That's such a good question. Well, keeping it focused on TikTok, just because that's the audience here. There are a lot of things. As a woman in my late 50s, as late as possible 50s, let's put it that way. As in 6 more months till I'm not. You like the very act of like when you see your camera and it's faced on you, one of your first distractions is you just kind of see yourself differently than you do in the mirror, and you get this shock of like, oh my gosh, I got those wrinkles, oh I didn't know, or my nose has gotten big, or whatever. So there really is this element of the physical self. You're like, okay, that's what I look like, great. I
Yeah.
can't change that, so here we go. And there are filters and things like that, but I use very few filters. I only use filters when I want to have fun with them. I don't like put on gentle glow or anything. Usually the vast majority of my TikToks are like, here's me and how I'm showing up. So I think that's really the first step is get yourself to the point where you like, just show up. That's you. You can show up with or without makeup. And that's really was a progression for me. At first I would be like, oh, how do I look? And is my lipstick and is everything just fine? And then there would be times where I'd get a creative idea and I just didn't want to fuss. I'm like, you know what? I am just going to show up. So over the 2 years, you asked how long I'd been on TikTok. It's been almost 2 years since I've been making videos. And, so I've shown up in a towel around my head and no makeup. And I've done just a lot of really goofy things, a farmer's hat in the middle of my garden. And, once you cross the barrier of doing something different or unusual or unique, you're like, there, I did it. I didn't die. Maybe people said something, and I've very rarely had negative comments, partly because I've never gone viral. My TikToks are mostly seen by people who do know me or have followed me because they saw something that they resonated with. But I'm fortunate so far. I haven't had any super negative. I had one video in my time that I would say was the closest to anything viral that I got, and it cracked me up how the way people would respond. So
I know. I remember that video. What was it about? It was about like flour or something, right?
Yeah. Like I was literally one of those days where, and this is what you do too. This is one of the other ways you can get over yourself on TikTok is just do the stupid video. Set a goal for yourself and say, I'm going to do X TikToks a day or a week. And then be true to the goal. And it's like middle of the day, and I just wanted to be done. I didn't want to have it hanging over my head. I didn't have a creative idea, and I had been baking. And I just thought, oh, why is the flour package the same that it's been since I was a kid? I always rip it. It doesn't open well. And I just literally less than 15 seconds of complaining. And that video, I actually looked these statistics up on my top videos. I thought that would be kind of interesting. 557,000 people have seen my flour video, and I literally got thousands of comments on it.
Yeah.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it. That was always my favorite. It ain't broke. It's been that way forever. Or, oh yeah, you want plastic. That's going to be terrible for the environment. It's like, I never said I wanted plastic, and everybody just projected on whatever they thought I meant.
Yeah.
By that, I just thought that was so fascinating. But and I was bummed too. Like, oh my gosh, I'm getting all this traction on a video that has nothing to do with what I'm selling or my services, and it just was, I don't know. I almost found it frustrating, but that was pretty funny. And
yeah.
Then, gotten a few, only less than half a dozen videos for me that ever gone over in the double digit thousands. And, and I'm okay with that. It's like, I'm not on here to be viral or whatever. In fact, for a lot of times, and this is maybe another thing that can help people have permission to start, is I had quite a long season as I was actually in flux with what my business model was going to be. So I
Yeah.
was just trying to create content to get content out there, and it didn't necessarily, I broke the rules. I don't always have a hook, which, you're not supposed to get their attention. My videos aren't always changing frames all the time. I don't always have a call to action. And yet somehow I've gotten 4,700 followers. And I don't know. I think it's just because, honestly, when you just show up as yourself, people will, if they like you enough, they'll follow you. And
Yeah.
I don't know. Some of them are bots. I know that for a fact, but I don't know how to clean them out. And I just
It's
laugh.
okay.
It's what it is.
Okay, so yeah, so you didn't know what your business was, but you knew that you had a business and you kind of like have been along the same messaging, right? Like your messaging has become more specific, but your messaging has probably always been a little bit the same because you're sharing what you believe and who you are trying to talk to has probably kind of been a little bit the same. So when you were just starting and you weren't comfortable making content and you didn't quite have your business in mind, like how did you create content and what were you using as like your this is what I'm going to create about today? I mean, obviously the flower video, but like when you had more creative ideas.
Yeah, that's such a good question. Well, and initially, so I did start a little bit. When I started, I was going to be like more freelance writing and offering communication expertise. So I would do tips like for writing effective emails. And so I think find an area where you can say, I know things that can help people. People write emails
Yeah.
every day on their jobs and works. Like, so I shared some tips about writing emails, and that kind of just got me over the hump. I did start to watch other people's content, and I saw a few trends. I'm like, oh, I could try that trend. And some of the lip syncs have made me laugh over time, and I take an inordinate amount of time and number of takes to get a lip sync right. But I have had a few. Like, I was going to say, my one of my second or third highest one was a simple video about you've probably heard it, where there's three things that are really hard to say, like I'm sorry, I love you, and Worcestershire sauce. Worcestershire sauce.
That's funny.
And I mean, it hops on a trend because that's following. But in terms of getting content, the content that you need to share is what's within you. Whenever you have like a passionate thought about something, just like, oh, I wish people would do blah, 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 or I wish more people knew this, or I love it when people do blah, 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 whatever it is. And you can just add content to that people will resonate with. What's a comfort food that you like? Well, I did a video on comfort food that I like, that it was like, what's something you like that nobody else does? Well, I shared that was another high engagement one, that I like cottage cheese with maple syrup because that was a comfort food. And I had one guy stitch that or duet it or stitch it, and he says, Nancy, you seem like a lovely person, but I cannot possibly agree with you on this horrendous
It's so funny.
combination of foods, and so anything can be content that's relatable to people. If you think and think it's funny, if you think and think it's meaningful, I guarantee you that somebody else out there is going to resonate with what you say. Maybe agree or disagree, but you can give it a go.
So I think that you touched on some really great points. So one of the things that Nancy said first is that she started off by just talking about something that she already knew about and sharing value in that way. So that's always a really great place to start. Like I think some people get really scared of like they're gonna they're gonna get in front of the wrong people, or they're gonna not talk about what their business is about, or they're gonna whatever. So start where you're comfortable, right? Like if you're most comfortable talking about writing tips or tips for being as a mom or tips with your dog or, whatever, like that's a great place to start. And then she also mentioned that she started watching what other people were doing and kind of like doing that. That is another like huge tip that you can always do is look at start taking notes on like the patterns that you see, right? Like the things that people are saying at the beginning, the types of camera angles that people are using, the things that they're wearing, what's in their background, those are things that you can start to mimic from other videos to give you some ideas to make you more comfortable and to really help get some more traction on your videos. And then trends are also really a great way to start, right? Because you don't have to come up with everything on your own. You just basically do whatever everybody else is doing in the trend. And lastly, she talked about being relatable, and that's really the most important thing with social media in general is relating to your audience. Like that's kind of what we're trying to do here, is create content that can make us more relatable to other people so that people are interested in what we're saying. So I love that. Those were some really, really great tips that you had. Okay, so we talked about people getting in their own way, how you got over the fear of being older. And you talked a little bit about just breaking the rules for content and showing up and being real. Do you want to talk a little bit more about that and how it contributes to like the like, know, and trust factor?
Yeah, that I think that's a really good question. Uh, by deciding, like I said, for my own strategy to show up as genuinely as possible. I'm kind of a silly person, so to allow silliness to come through some of my creative ideas. When people see that, and if you're consistent over time, they'll see an authenticity. And I do think that that word is a lot, even I wouldn't say with the younger generation, authenticity. And I just think that the social media generation loves authenticity so much is a bit of a irony to me, because there's so much about social media that's inauthentic. And I think for me, I seriously don't have the bandwidth in my life to be a different person in different settings. I don't
Yeah.
have a good enough memory to say, oh, I'm this person on TikTok and I'm this person on Facebook and I'm this person face to face. And a kind of a funny story, years ago, my oldest son, I worked at a college, and my oldest son, actually, after he graduated, had a 3-month internship in the same department where I worked. He didn't report to me, but subsequently he was, at the table. We had these Monday morning staff meetings, and I'm kind of notorious for doing goofy things. Like I'll break out in song in the middle. Like if, to me, like there's a song or a joke for just every occasion. Right. And so I break out to song in the middle of a meeting, and he'd say to me lately, I cannot believe you are as weird at work as you are at home. And he was used to that kind of craziness for me at home, but he had no idea that that would be part of my professional life. And so I don't have a guard up. I'm the natural, person. Like if I meet you face to face within a short time, I'll say, hey, we're friends. I know other people have, need to know people better, but that's just how I'm wired. And so that's a piece of the contribution. But, you don't have to be loud. You don't have to be silly or goofy. You can be calm. I mean, I have certain people who show up on my feed and they are so consistent, like, oh, this is the lady who always makes me feel calm. When I
Yeah.
just know that if I listen to her video for a minute, it'll probably, help me just, settle down. And so you might have the ability to calm people. You might have the ability to like see into people's souls, that they'll know that you get them. You might have the
Mhm.
ability to just make somebody laugh really quickly. Whatever that is, let that come out on social media. And that's, to me, how people are going to start to know, like, and trust you.
Yeah, I really love that. Again, like just being you and letting that be the reason that people are drawn to you. And I think that that's a great quality. I love that story about your son. That's so fun. Um, okay, so I want to shift just a little bit and talk a little bit about a little bit more about um what it is that you do, and maybe for anybody who is in their 40s and 50s and they really resonated with the first part of what you said whenever you talked about not knowing where they're at in their life. Like, how do you normally work with people? Is there a framework that you're walking them through, or and maybe we can just talk about that for a little while.
Yeah, thank you for that. I would say that, yeah, it's very organic. The way I work with people is to meet them where they're at. And so I don't generally have a coaching program where I just like, here's my structure and I fit you into it. We have a framework where we analyze and we unpack, kind of looking at your life area by area. It says, on a scale of 1 to 10, what is your satisfaction right now with where you're at in your family relationships? If you are dealing with adult children, have you worked to establish a new framework with them for how
Hmm.
you aren't the mom telling them what to do all the time, but you're, more collaborative, more friend to friend or whatever that is, and get a sense of what areas are their sticking points, where they're frustrated. I'm a really strong interviewer. And so the way I engage with people is by being curious, asking a lot of questions. And this isn't my analogy, but I picked it up within the last month. Somebody said they see their job as a coach, and I really resonated with this, is to basically hold up a mirror, sort of with a loving face behind it, so people can better see their own stuff, their own issues. That a lot of what I do is I restate what people say through that questioning process. And when people hear their problems articulated in a clear way, or their opportunities articulated, or their ideas articulated in a different way than it is inside their head, it gives them that chance to go, oh, that's it. Oh my gosh, that's it.
Yeah.
Now I'm ready to have some energy around fixing that, or some energy around making some goals around that. And so
Hmm.
that's very a very, very organic process, and it's as individualized as the person that I'm working with. But my big goal, as I see a lot of us who flounder, we we missed we often miss that season of deciding that we are worthy of an investment in, hiring someone to help us, or we're worthy
Yeah.
of taking the time. We've just been so used to being in a comfort zone of act, respond, repeat, respond, act, repeat. And just that sense of innovation, I've really started to think a lot about. I help people reinvent, reimagine, or ignite their dream for the very first time. And that's
That's so cool.
really, what it is. A lot of us have dreams that we just, by life circumstance, had to put on the shelf. Some of us made some progress, but got stalled out. And some of us never really have had a statement of like, this is how, I know that I've done what I was called and created to do.
Yeah.
And I, one person put it really bluntly. It's like, you don't want to get to the end of your life and say, well, that sucked, you know?
Yeah.
And so
Seriously.
you're like, you're in your 40s and your 50s. It's statistically speaking, the road ahead of us is shorter than the road behind us. And we don't ever know how much time we
Yeah.
have. And
Yeah.
so it's a season where there's this kind of new urgency to go, look, if I'm really going to do that thing that I always wanted to do, or I want to find out what I was actually truly called and created to do, now's the
Yeah.
time, let's
Yeah.
get cracking. And so there are two things, kind of three different ways that I work with people. One is one-on-one coaching, where I have a 12-week program that's a good length of time to really get a start. Most people get a real sense of a good shift in a direction that keeps them, kind of on this new path that they want. I am formulating some group coaching that's not started yet, but if there's interest, I'm going to be developing that. And then I also have kind of a unique service called Ideas by the Hour, because I
Oh
know that
yeah.
sometimes people, I'm like, I don't know if I want to either can afford a coach or whatever, but every once in a while, man, if I could brainstorm with somebody who's really creative, really good at helping me get my ideas from out of my head and onto paper. And so
Yeah.
I actually do, it's, hourly coaching or hourly brainstorming, depending on how you want to do it. So I'll work with people. Literally, you can just sign up and spend an hour with me without a long-term commitment. And we can often make really good progress to unpack those ideas and get some traction and energy around them.
I love that. So be sure that you are following Nancy here on TikTok. And if you're loving this, please double tap the screen so we can see your love and share with more people. So I want to bring something up, and I'm sure that Nancy, you can relate to this because I know that both of us put a lot of value on fitness in our life. And if there's one thing that I've noticed in the past 5 years that I've been doing that, it's that I can go so much further with a coach than without it. And that's really in any place in my life. And that's how I have been successful as a business owner. That's how I've been successful in the gym. That's how I've been successful in my marriage, is really paying somebody else to help me see what I'm not seeing. So I think that there's so much value in that. And I also think another thought that came up to me is, a lot of women in their 40s and 50s, you guys didn't experience what people my age did, which is that like when we got out of college, there was nothing for us to do afterwards. And so we had to be a little bit more creative about coming up with a way to make money. And even nowadays, people that are younger than me in their late teens, early 20s, like we see a lot more opportunity. Whereas like people that are my mom's age or in 40s, 50s, 60s, the opportunity was just to go to work. And so I can see that there's probably a lot of people that are now getting to an age closer to retirement thinking like, there were some other things that I really wanted to do, and I didn't even know that it was a possibility. So I really love that you're bringing that to light, especially to women that aren't at retirement yet, that there's still opportunity, that they can still make these changes in their life. So I think that could be extremely valuable. And I love that that is what you're doing.
Thanks. Yeah, it's really fun just to help people see the possibilities. And, some of the women I work with, they don't want to be entrepreneurs, but they just want to feel, I think, more grounded in their purpose and how they're living their lives, that they're prioritizing properly. Or sometimes it's communication issues. I do a lot of communication coaching. I'm really good at helping find words when you have difficult conversations that you need to initiate and that kind of thing. I'm not a therapist or anything. A lot of times things go really deep, but so much of I think our emotional baggage and relationship issues start with bad communication or communication breakdown. And so finding ways to work with that and find new ways, again, that whole concept of reframing how we think, restating, finding new ways to say things that will resonate with people. So there's just all kinds of, not calling them tips and tricks, but methodologies that exist out there for us to improve our situation, whatever it is.
Yeah, and like Nancy said, it doesn't necessarily mean that you want to become a business owner, but there is just so much opportunity available in all aspects. Like you mentioned, finances, fitness, family, friends, and I could totally see that. We all need a little bit of help in one of those, I'm sure.
For sure.
Well, thank you so much for your time today. We're going a little bit over, but I do want to make sure that people know where they can find you. So what are your handles or your website, or what is the best way to get in touch?
Yeah, well, obviously TikTok, there's links to my my information and discovery call, things like that. nancyz.com is my website, and there's more information there. I'm usually Nancy Z Unlimited on most platforms. Facebook, I think I'm Nancy Zuggs, and I couldn't get all the things in the right places. So my business
It's
page
okay.
is Nancy Z Unlimited, but I still get overwhelmed by all the things. What I love and that I've learned is, so if you are going into business, there are people like Jen out there who run marketing agencies to help you and make it easier. And I say one of the things that I've delayed on probably not too long, but longer than I could, is that getting help in that realm. So, because sometimes you learn I can do something, but it doesn't necessarily mean you're the best one to be doing it for your own business. And so I love there's people like Jen who can partner with you, help you with your marketing, and just really make you look good without all the pain of video editing. And this is just maybe a funny way to close, because she kind of positioned this as being on TikTok when you're in your mid to late what did you say, upper middle age?
I actually copied something that you said, but
I was like, did I say upper? Anyway, it was really funny, but like even the screen. So I have 3 levels of correction in my glasses, and whenever I've gone live like by myself, one of the things that's hard is just like I can't read the screen unless I go like this, and it's just so humbling. But it is what it is, and so I think once you just decide to show up, be yourself, you got your warts, you got your progressive lenses, whatever it is,
right.
be where you are and enjoy that.
Totally.
And somebody somewhere will think it's fun.
I love that. Thank you so much, Nancy. I appreciate your time today.
Thanks for inviting me, Jen. Good to talk to you.
Thanks, guys. And be sure to catch me every Tuesday live at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time. Bye-bye.
Bye.